couple of days of real blazing heat, and the harvest you've grown all summer can burn up right on the plant. Leaves droop, fruit cracks and cooks right on the vine, and the blossoms drop before they ever fill out. But a garden isn't saved by watering alone. Do these three things and your neighbor will lean over the fence just to ask how your garden stays so green and loaded in the worst of the heat. I'm Amos Reel, an Amish farmer from Ohio. Let's begin. First, and this breaks a summer habit, in the worst of the heat, put the fertilizer away. Right now you're thinking, it's hot, the plant's struggling. Isn't this the time to give it a boost, to feed it? That's exactly the mistake almost everyone makes. In severe heat, the plant is already at its limit. It closes the pores on its leaves so it won't lose precious water, slows its growth, and simply tries to survive. And then you sprinkle nitrogen on it and force out new tender growth at the very moment the plant can't handle it. That young growth wilts under the sun, pulls on water that's already scarce, and the plant weakens even faster. This goes double for pots on the balcony. A dark pot in the sun already bakes the roots, and feeding at that moment just finishes the job. Do you recognize your own plant, lush to look at, but drooping by noon and won't hold its fruit? That's often overfeeding in the heat. It works the other way around. Let the plant ride it out. The best help in the heat is simple. Water it early in the morning and give it some shade at midday. And that's enough. Save the fertilizer for when the heat breaks. And the plant needs rest in every way. Leave the roots alone through the heat and save the transplanting, the hoeing, and the digging for when it cools. Disturb a root in the peak heat and it can't drink the way it should. You only pile stress on a plant that's already having a hard time. Then it puts its strength not into extra leaves, but into surviving and carrying the fruit it already has. And once it cools off, that's when you feed, and the plant makes up for it. The payoff is simple: less stress, less water used, and not a scrap of fertilizer wasted. But even a rested plant will burn to a crisp if you do this second thing. And it's done in nearly every garden. Second, don't strip your plant bare. In the heat, a lot of folks grab the shears and pull off the lower and extra leaves, figuring it'll get more air, let the sun reach the fruit. And that's a straight path to losing your harvest. You might think more sun on the fruit means it ripens faster and sweeter, right? It's actually the opposite. The plant's leaves are its own umbrella. Under them, the tomatoes, peppers, and eggplant hide from the direct sun, the same way you step into the shade at noon. Strip the plant bare, and the sun hits the naked side of the fruit, and up comes a pale sunken patch, sun-scald. That fruit's past saving, it'll dry up or rot. A pepper only needs a couple of hours of open sun to cook on one side. Do you recognize those white, leathery patches on the shoulders of your tomatoes? That's exactly it. But what about airflow, you ask? The air moves through the leaves just fine. A plant doesn't need airflow from you stripping it down to bare branches. The protection is simple and free. Living leaves hold shade over the fruit and the soil all day, protecting both the harvest and the moisture in the roots. In the worst heat, my grandfather put the shears away in the shed altogether. He'd say a leaf is worth its weight in gold to a plant in the heat. So put the shears down, let the plant stand full and leafy. Save all the pruning and the sucker pinching for the cooler, cloudy days. One exception, a diseased or yellow leaf down low you can take off, but just that one, not strip the whole plant. The payoff shows right away. Fruit that's whole and unscalded, and a plant that shades both itself and its own roots. And the third thing saves your harvest directly. When the blaze is at the door and the fruit's still on the plant. Third, harvest ahead of the heat. When a heat wave's in the forecast, don't wait for everything to ripen on the vine. A fruit that's already turning color, starting to blush pink, red, or gold, pick it a little early. It'll ripen up just fine indoors, on a windowsill or in a paper bag, and the taste will be the same as on the plant. Want it faster? Drop a ripe apple in the bag with it, and the tomatoes turn red in a couple of days. And pick in the cool of the morning, not in the midday blaze. A fruit gone soft in the heat bruises right in your hand, while one picked at dawn is firm, solid, and keeps noticeably longer. It's easier on you too, out in the cool before the sun's fully up. You might think, let it hang. It's sweeter on the plant, isn't it? In ordinary weather, yes. But in the worst heat, the plant works against you. The fruit cracks, cooks on one side, goes soft, and over-ripens in a single day. And there you are throwing out what you nearly saved. What you pick in time is home and whole. What you leave to ripen a bit more, you risk losing. Ever seen a tomato suddenly split in a ring around the stem after a hot day? That's it cracking because it swelled too fast. Those are the ones to pick ahead of time. And there's a second reason to pick early. Taking off the filled out fruit lifts the load off the plant. It no longer has to carry and feed that weight, and it puts what's left into surviving the heat itself and setting new fruit when the cool returns. It's not just tomatoes. Peppers and eggplant ripen fine off the plant too. And cucumbers and beans, pick them more often in the heat, don't let them overgrow. Frequent picking spares the plant and pushes it to keep setting more. And even in the worst of the heat, you've got your own tomatoes on the table, ripened indoors, whole and full of flavor. The payoff is double. Your harvest safe indoors, and a lighter plant that takes the heat far better. Never water the garden in the evening, but I cover that in another video. It's all there. Mulch, shade, and watering the right way. Watch it and you'll save your harvest. Write your own way to save a garden from the heat in the comments. Together, we'll pull our gardens through. Subscribe and hit like.